Hi everybody and welcome back to the channel again. I hope you are doing well today. On this video today we are going to look at the next manoeuvre in the series, and that is the reverse bay park. So with the reverse bay parking, this will be done if your test centre has a car park. It'll be done in the test centre car park, so either at the very beginning of your test or the very end of your test. If your test centre doesn't have a car park, so it's on a high street location or something like that, you will do this. If you are going to do this manoeuvre, it will be done en route, so they'll find a car park for you to do it in. So with this manoeuvre, the examiner will, when you're in the car park, they'll say, we're going to do a reverse parking manoeuvre. I'd like you to select a bay or drive out of the bay you're in if it's at the test centre and it's at the beginning. So either drive out of the bay, or as you drive back in, as you drive into the car park, they'll say, I'd like you to select a space to the right or left and park the car, reverse the car back into the space, finishing between the lines, something like that. So the method you use doesn't matter. What we're going to do today, and the way that I teach this, is what's called the 3-line rule. But I do this because it just makes it a little more simple for people that are inexperienced at driving. The other way you can do it is the 45-degree method, and what you'll see most people doing is they'll drive up to alongside a space and then they'll drive away from it, point the back of the car at the space and reverse in. I found that learners and inexperienced drivers really struggle with that method. So it's another level of stress that would be added to the test, and I'm just trying to take that away. So with this manoeuvre and this technique, first thing you need to do is identify the space you want to go in. So as you're driving past the space, you're going to go, I want that one. When you're at the space, I'll show you a picture of a car park now. The space with an X in it is the one that we're going to go for. So you drive past that space, counting the lines. So one line is the side of the space you want to go in, the second line is the edge of the next space, and the third line is the end of the edge of the space after. We're then going to put that line it up with your shoulder. So as kind of shown here, the picture's not the best. It's quite hard to get a picture like of how it looks, but it should look something like that. So the line will feel like it runs out of the space and like level with your shoulder. Before you do anything else there, I would just talk about how far away from the spaces you need to be. With forward bay parking, you may have seen in the other video that you need to be as far away as possible from the space you're going to go in. With this manoeuvre, you want to be just a bit further away from the end of the space than if it was the curb in the road, so about 1.5 meters away. And you can be closer, it doesn't really matter, it just means you're going to cross more of the spaces on the way in. Obviously if there's cars there, that is a problem, but meter and a half away is absolutely fine. So once you've got yourself lined up, the line on your shoulder, you're going to go into reverse. Before we move again, as we've said in the other videos, your observations are the most important part of any part of your manoeuvre. It's the most important thing because they cannot be redone if they get messed up. If you miss the space on this manoeuvre, you can redo it. You cannot redo a missed observation. So a good check all around, checking your blind spots, all of your mirrors, your final blind spot, have a look at your camera if you've got one, and out the back window. Make sure it's safe to move. Then you're going to move at walking pace, just using clutch control to move the car backwards. As soon as the car starts moving, so once the car starts moving, we're going to start feeding the steering into full lock. So if we've got our space to our left, we're going to steer to the left. If our space is to our right, we're going to steer to the right. All the steering all the way around, and throughout the manoeuvre, we're going to keep checking blind spots and window and camera. We're going to keep checking all these things to make sure there's nothing going on behind us. As we come around into the space, the mirror that is farthest away from the space, I'll explain it in a second when I'm doing the demonstration. So if you're reversing to the left, your mirror to the right, in that mirror you'll see the line for the outside of the space. You should see it if your mirrors are adjusted properly. You can then use that to gauge when you're going to straighten up. You'll see the line coming in, so that as you start to see it, the line will be here. Your car's on this angle, you'll start to see the car straighten up, and as it gets straighter, once it's fully straight, you want to have those, your wheels need to be straight. So either leave it to the last minute and really quickly back to center, which I find most people find the easiest, or slowly feed it off so that the car ends up straight back into the space. And as with the forward bay parking, get that front line of the space underneath your mirror. You know you're going to be in. Handbrake, neutral, and then have a check if you want to. Make sure you're in the lines. If you're happy you're in the lines, as before, a massive space next to your line, you know you're over the far side. Can't see your line at all, you know you're over this one, you're going to need to make an adjustment. And remember, your car doesn't have to be straight in the space, it has to just fit in that box. It can be wonky. Ideally it'd be straight, but it doesn't have to be. And that's it. It doesn't take very long to do. The maneuvers carry a lot of pressure, but then they really shouldn't, because you can redo them. Just keep your observations up. So what we'll do is in a second I'll give a demonstration of what a good one looks like, and just before that we'll talk about, like we did in the other videos, what could go wrong. So what could go wrong with this maneuver? Okay, you don't do your observations. That one's pretty obvious. If you don't do observations, doesn't matter how perfectly you park the car, how perfectly you park the car, you won't pass. You end up, as with the forward bay park, you end up to the right or to the left of the bay over the line, and you leave it there and you haven't realised you haven't finished within the space. You finish outside the space at the front. You maybe hit the curb behind you hard, or go over the space at the back and leave the car like that. Again, the car's not in the space with any of those four things, so you would fail. And then the last thing is that no matter how many times you try, you just can't get it. So that you see it happen all the time, where people go to do this maneuver and they get themselves in a real fluster and they just can't figure out, their mind leaves them and they can't figure out what they've got to do to get the car back into the bay that they wanted it to be in. So what we'll do is we'll go and have a go at getting this done well, and I'll talk you through what a good one looks like. I'm going to reverse to the left, so I'm going to move the car over a little bit, so it's just about a metre and a half away, metre away from those. You'll see it in your mirror, you'll see the line. You get that line on my shoulder. So as you can see here, the picture's not great again, remember, so that's the picture we're looking for. The line looks like it runs along the space, and like the paint would go over you as you look out the window. Car into reverse, and then have a good check around. So over both shoulders, all around, in the mirror, in the camera, and then we start to move the car. The car starts to move, and we start to steer. Keep the car slow, keep your observations up, keep the wheel coming around. Got full lock on now, and it's just a matter of keeping checking, and I can see the line in the space there. It's at an angle, so I know I'm not straight yet, and I can see it coming round. I can check the camera, I know I'm going to be in. Now it's just a matter of straightening up at the right time. So I'm going to start to straighten up now. Over my shoulder. It's just for the mount, and stop there. The line of the front of the space is under the mirror, as it was in the forward bay park. I'll show you a picture of that again. That's all lined up, and when I open and check my door, you'll see on the screen I've got a good gap that's not too big, and I'm in the space. And that's it. There isn't a huge amount to it. That's all we need to do. Take your time, keep it slow. Now this method does have its limitations. Obviously this only works in standard parking spaces, so the ones where it's space by space by space by space. If there's the ones that have got the extra space next to them, like some of the supermarkets give, so you can open your doors wider, or like along a disabled bay, it's not going to work. So you'd have to use that 45-degree method. And also the limitation can be if you can't count those lines, if you can't count enough lines because there's not enough spaces, there's not enough space for you to be able to do that, then you might come a little bit unstuck. But just remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to do they're not looking for a perfect technique. You just have to end up in the space that A, you intended to, and B, that you've done it safely. And I'll see you again soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The likes tell YouTube that we're doing the right thing. Thank you very much, and I'll see you soon.